If you've been waking up foggy, forgetting where you put your keys, or struggling to remember names you've known for years, I need you to hear this. The problem might not be your age. It might not be stress. It might not even be how much sleep you're getting. It might be what you're eating, or more specifically, what you're not eating, in the hours before you go to bed. Here's something most people don't know. Your brain doesn't power down when you sleep. It actually switches into its most intense repair and maintenance mode. While your body is lying still, your brain is doing something extraordinary. It's flushing out toxic waste, consolidating everything you learned that day into long-term memories, rebuilding connections between neurons, and producing the chemical messengers that determine how sharp, how focused, and how emotionally balanced you feel tomorrow morning. And all of that work requires raw materials, specific nutrients, specific compounds. If those materials aren't available when the brain needs them most, during those overnight repair hours, the work doesn't get done. The memories don't get locked in. The toxins don't get fully cleared. You wake up foggy. And over months and years, that repeated shortfall starts to add up in ways that are measurable, visible, and deeply concerning. Hi, I'm Dr. John. I spent years watching otherwise healthy patients experience cognitive decline. Not from disease, not from injury, but simply from not feeding their brains the right things at the right times. And when I started looking at the peer-reviewed neuroscience literature, what I found completely changed how I think about evening nutrition. There are 5 specific foods that provide your brain with the exact compounds it needs to carry out its overnight repair process. Not supplements, not powders, not expensive superfoods from the other side of the planet. Foods. Real, accessible foods that you can buy at any grocery store. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the science of what your brain actually does while you sleep. Why the hours before bed are a nutritional window that most people are completely wasting. The 5 specific foods that feed your brain's overnight repair system. The exact amounts and timing that the research supports. And the critical mistakes that block your brain from doing this repair work, no matter how well you sleep. Before we get into it, a quick favor. If you've been watching my videos and finding the information useful, please take 2 seconds and hit subscribe. It's free, and it means this channel can keep putting real, evidence-based health science in front of people who need it. Thank you. What your brain actually does at night. Let me give you a picture of what's happening inside your head every single night. Because once you understand this, the importance of what you eat before bed will make complete sense. In 2013, scientists at the University of Rochester made one of the most important neuroscience discoveries in decades. They discovered that your brain has its own dedicated waste clearance system, a network of channels that had been completely invisible to researchers until that point. They called it the glymphatic system. And here's the critical detail. The glymphatic system is almost entirely inactive during the day. It switches on at night, during sleep, and it works by pumping cerebrospinal fluid through the spaces between brain cells to literally wash out metabolic waste. What kind of waste? One of the primary things the glymphatic system clears is beta amyloid protein, the same protein that accumulates in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. Every single night, your glymphatic system is working to clear this protein before it can build up. When the system doesn't function optimally, amyloid starts to accumulate. And while the research doesn't say that everyone who sleeps poorly will develop Alzheimer's, the correlation between disrupted glymphatic function and cognitive decline is strong, consistent, and deeply significant. At the same time your glymphatic system is running, your brain is also carrying out memory consolidation. Every experience, every fact, every skill you encounter during the day exists at first as a fragile, temporary neural connection. During sleep, your brain replays and stabilizes those connections, moving information from short-term storage into long-term memory. This process is not optional. If it gets disrupted, the memories simply don't form. And then there's neurochemistry. During deep sleep, your brain synthesizes key neurotransmitters, including serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, the compounds responsible for mood, motivation, focus, and calm. Your brain also produces and regulates hormones like cortisol and growth hormone during this window, which have direct effects on brain cell regeneration. Here's the point. All of this, glymphatic clearance, memory consolidation, neurotransmitter synthesis, requires specific raw materials: amino acids, essential fatty acids, antioxidants, minerals. And if those materials aren't present in your bloodstream during those overnight hours, the work is done poorly, or in some cases, not done at all. The 2 to 3 hours before bed are when your digestive system is processing your last meal and feeding those nutrients into your bloodstream. What you eat during that window determines what's available for your brain to work with overnight. Most people are eating processed snacks, refined carbohydrates, or nothing at all. They're sending their brain into its most demanding work shift with an empty supply closet. Let's fix that. Food 1. Kiwi. This one surprises people every time, so let me give you the study first. Researchers at Taipei Medical University conducted a randomized controlled trial in which participants ate 2 kiwi fruits 1 hour before bed every night for 4 weeks. The results were striking. Sleep onset time dropped by 35%. Total sleep time increased by 13.4%. And most importantly for brain health, sleep efficiency, the percentage of time in bed that participants were actually in deep, restorative sleep, improved significantly. Why does this matter for your brain? Because deep sleep is when glymphatic clearance peaks. The more efficiently you cycle through deep sleep, the more beta amyloid and other metabolic waste your brain clears. Kiwi improves the quality of sleep in a way that directly amplifies your brain's overnight maintenance work. The mechanism is serotonin. Kiwi contains high levels of serotonin itself, as well as folate and antioxidants, particularly vitamin C, that support serotonin synthesis. Serotonin is the precursor to melatonin, your primary sleep-regulating hormone, and it also plays a direct role in memory consolidation and mood regulation during REM sleep. Kiwi also contains a unique antioxidant profile, specifically high concentrations of lutein and zeaxanthin, that protects neurons from oxidative damage while your brain is busy repairing and rebuilding during the night. Think of these antioxidants as the cleanup crew that runs alongside the construction workers, making sure the renovation doesn't accidentally cause new damage. The dose: 2 kiwi fruits, 1 hour before bed. That's it. No preparation required. Eat them as they are. Food 2. Tart cherry juice. Tart cherries are one of the very few natural dietary sources of melatonin. And I don't mean they contain trace amounts. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition found that adults who drank tart cherry juice twice daily had significantly elevated urinary melatonin levels, longer total sleep time, and better sleep efficiency compared to a placebo group. But the brain benefits go well beyond sleep quality. Tart cherries contain extraordinarily high levels of anthocyanins, the deep red-purple pigments that belong to the polyphenol family. These compounds cross the blood-brain barrier, something many antioxidants cannot do, and they work directly inside brain tissue. Research published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry found that tart cherry anthocyanins reduced markers of oxidative stress and neuroinflammation in brain tissue. Neuroinflammation is a central mechanism in cognitive decline, depression, and neurodegenerative disease. When your brain cells are chronically inflamed, communication between neurons slows down, memory consolidation is impaired, and the overnight repair process we discussed becomes less efficient. There's also a study from the University of Delaware that looked specifically at older adults with mild memory complaints. Participants who drank tart cherry juice daily for 12 weeks showed measurable improvements in verbal learning, memory, and the ability to switch between cognitive tasks compared to a placebo group. These weren't small improvements. They were statistically significant changes on standardized cognitive assessments. The mechanism is dual. The melatonin directly supports deep sleep architecture, while the anthocyanins reduce the neuroinflammatory environment that would otherwise interfere with memory consolidation and synaptic repair during sleep. The dose: 240 milliliters, roughly 1 cup, of unsweetened tart cherry juice, 30 to 60 minutes before bed. Look for 100% pure tart cherry juice, not a blend. The blended versions typically contain 5 to 10% cherry and 90% apple or grape juice. You want the full anthocyanin payload. Food 3. Walnuts. Your brain is approximately 60% fat by dry weight. A significant portion of that fat is DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, a long-chain omega-3 fatty acid that forms the structural backbone of your neuron membranes. Every single night, when your brain is rebuilding and repairing neurons, it requires DHA as a raw material. Walnuts are unique among plant foods because they contain ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, in exceptionally high concentrations. ALA is the plant-based omega-3 that your body partially converts to DHA and EPA, the forms used directly by brain tissue. They also contain a distinctive combination of polyphenols, specifically elagitannins, that gut bacteria convert into compounds called urolithins, which have been shown to cross the blood-brain barrier and protect against neurodegeneration. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition, Health, and Aging followed over 4,800 adults and found that regular walnut consumption was associated with significantly better cognitive function, including better memory, faster processing speed, and higher scores on executive function tests. The effect was especially pronounced in older adults with higher oxidative stress levels, precisely the population where overnight brain repair is most critical. But here's the piece that's specific to nighttime consumption. Walnuts contain melatonin, measured at about 3.5 nanograms per gram of walnut, which is small but additive with your body's natural production. More importantly, the fatty acids in walnuts take several hours to fully digest and integrate into circulation. By eating them in the evening, you ensure that DHA and ALA are available in your bloodstream during the overnight window when your brain is most actively rebuilding cell membranes and synaptic structures. There's also the serotonin-melatonin pathway again. Walnuts contain tryptophan, an amino acid your brain uses to manufacture both serotonin and melatonin. Combined with the omega-3 fatty acids, which are known to enhance tryptophan transport across the blood-brain barrier, walnuts essentially stack multiple mechanisms in favor of better sleep and better brain repair simultaneously. The dose: 30 grams of raw walnuts in the evening, roughly a small handful, about 7 to 8 whole walnuts. Do not roast them in oil, as heat damages the delicate omega-3 fatty acids. Raw or dry roasted only. Food 4. Warm milk or a dairy-based snack. Before you dismiss this as an old wives' tale, let me walk you through the actual biochemistry, because it's more sophisticated than most people realize. Milk contains tryptophan, the same amino acid found in walnuts, which your brain converts into serotonin and then into melatonin. But here's the part the old grandmother's advice didn't know to explain. Tryptophan competes with several other amino acids for transport across the blood-brain barrier. In a high-protein meal with many competing amino acids, tryptophan loses that competition, and relatively little reaches the brain. Warm milk consumed with a small amount of carbohydrate, say a few crackers or a small piece of fruit, triggers an insulin response that preferentially removes the competing amino acids from the bloodstream, clearing the way for tryptophan to cross into the brain in much larger quantities. This is why warm milk works better in the evening when consumed with a small carbohydrate source, and why plain protein sources like chicken or eggs don't have the same effect. Research published in the Journal of Pineal Research found that milk collected from cows at night, called night milk, contained significantly higher levels of melatonin and tryptophan than daytime milk, and that consuming it improved sleep quality and reduced anxiety in participants. While most commercial milk doesn't distinguish by collection time, the tryptophan content remains significant regardless. Dairy also provides glycine, an amino acid that has been shown in several clinical trials to directly improve sleep quality by lowering core body temperature and promoting deeper, more restorative sleep stages. A study in sleep and biological rhythms found that 3 grams of glycine before bed significantly improved subjective and objective sleep quality, including increased time in slow-wave sleep, the stage during which your glymphatic system is most active. Additionally, the calcium in dairy plays a role in converting tryptophan into melatonin and in regulating the sleep-wake cycle through the nervous system. There's consistent data linking calcium deficiency with disrupted sleep architecture. The dose: 200 to 250 milliliters of warm whole milk, 30 to 45 minutes before bed, optionally with a small, low-glycemic carbohydrate. Warming the milk enhances the psychological relaxation response and may mildly increase the rate of tryptophan release during digestion. Food 5. Fatty fish, specifically salmon or sardines. I want to bring this back to the hardest science. The single nutrient with the most robust evidence for brain repair, memory consolidation, and protection against cognitive decline is DHA. And the most bioavailable source of DHA on Earth is fatty fish. A landmark study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed over 2,000 adults and found that higher blood levels of DHA were associated with significantly reduced risk of cognitive decline and a measurably larger hippocampus, the brain region responsible for forming new memories. Every percentage point increase in blood DHA was associated with measurable differences in cognitive performance. But what makes fatty fish particularly powerful as an evening food? A study from the University of Pennsylvania's Perelman School of Medicine found that children who ate fish regularly had significantly higher IQ scores and better sleep quality, and that better sleep quality was found to partially mediate the cognitive improvement. In other words, the fish improved brain function partly through improving sleep architecture, specifically by increasing slow-wave sleep duration. This makes mechanistic sense. DHA is incorporated into the membranes of neurons, where it increases membrane fluidity and improves the speed and efficiency of electrochemical signaling between cells. During sleep, when the brain is replaying and consolidating memories, neurons need to fire in complex, coordinated patterns. Stiffer, less fluid membranes, the result of insufficient omega-3s, make this process slower and less efficient. DHA makes the overnight memory consolidation process work better at a structural level. Fatty fish also contains vitamin B12 in concentrated amounts. B12 is essential for the production of myelin, the insulating sheath around nerve fibers, and for the synthesis of neurotransmitters. B12 deficiency is one of the most common and underdiagnosed causes of cognitive decline in adults over 50. And because B12 is almost exclusively found in animal products, many people are running a silent deficit. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, and herring are your best options. 3 servings per week is the evidence-based minimum, and there's a meaningful advantage to making one of those servings your evening meal. Bake or grill, never deep fry, as high heat in oil oxidizes the omega-3s and converts them from protective compounds into inflammatory ones. The dose, 100 to 150 grams, 2 to 3 evenings per week. Pair it with vegetables and a small portion of complex carbohydrates. Canned sardines are equally effective and significantly cheaper than fresh fish. The insider principles that separate results from frustration. After reviewing the research and working with patients, these are the principles that determine whether evening nutrition actually moves the needle for brain health. Timing matters more than most people think. The goal is not to eat these foods immediately before lying down. Your body needs time to digest and begin circulating the nutrients before deep sleep begins. The sweet spot is 45 minutes to 2 hours before your target sleep time. Eating too close to sleep actually impairs sleep quality by keeping your digestive system active when your brain wants to go into repair mode. Combine, don't isolate. The 5 foods work through different mechanisms that complement each other. Kiwi and Tart cherry address sleep architecture and glymphatic efficiency. Walnuts and fatty fish provide the structural materials for neuron repair. Warm milk facilitates tryptophan transport and deep sleep initiation. Using 2 or 3 of these in the same evening creates synergistic effects that are greater than any one food alone. Consistency over intensity. Your brain doesn't fully repair itself in a single night. The research on all of these foods shows benefits that emerge over weeks and months of consistent use. Eating a handful of walnuts once is meaningless. Eating them every evening for 8 weeks is meaningful. The glymphatic system, like any biological system, becomes more efficient the more consistently it's supported. Limit alcohol in the evening. I mention this specifically because alcohol is the single most effective destroyer of the brain repair process we've been discussing. Even one drink in the 3 hours before bed measurably suppresses slow-wave sleep, reduces glymphatic clearance, impairs memory consolidation, and blocks the tryptophan to melatonin pathway. If you're eating all 5 of these foods but having a glass of wine with dinner every night, you're undermining most of the benefit. Avoid heavy processed sugar after 7 p.m. High glycemic foods in the evening spike insulin and then crash blood sugar overnight, which disrupts sleep architecture and increases cortisol, a stress hormone that directly impairs memory consolidation when elevated during the overnight hours. The foods I've described work precisely because they provide gentle, sustained metabolic support without creating blood sugar volatility. If this video gave you something useful, please share it with someone in your life who's been struggling with brain fog, memory issues, or poor sleep. Most people don't know this information exists, and it genuinely matters. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my other videos on glymphatic health and neuroinflammation for a deeper dive into the science behind what we covered today.